Hey, welcome back. Today, I'm going to be pulling back the curtain on a topic we don't talk enough about, which is account planning. And here's the brutal truth. This is something that most account managers get completely wrong. And it's not just costing you time, it's costing you client trust, growth, and renewal opportunities. Many of you have spent hours, if not days, working on account plans. I get it, and it takes a lot of time. But I've also seen you make the mistake of the account plans. All they do once they're created is sit in a drawer or sit in a file, gathering virtual dust or physical dust, and essentially forgotten until it's time for some type of review or our boss asks about it. Maybe you've put one together and you've had your boss or your client ignore your beautiful document altogether. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. For many account managers, this is a frustrating part of our jobs. But here's the thing. This is happening because most account plans are missing the point. They're overcomplicated, they're too rigid, and frankly, they don't serve anybody. Today, we're going to change that. I'm going to share why most account planning processes fail, the biggest mistakes account managers make with account plans, and the steps that you can take to turn your account plans into your secret weapon. Because look, done right, account planning isn't just a task that you're checking off. It's your strategic advantage. It's how you get ahead with your customers. It's how you get more done. So if you're ready to rethink account planning and build account plans that actually drive value, then stick around. This episode is for you. Let's start with a quick reality check. Why does account planning even matter? What's the big deal? Well, account planning, when done right, is your roadmap. It's your guide. It's how you are going to execute on all the ideas and plans that you have. It's what takes you from being a reactive order taker to being a proactive strategic partner. If you're serious about building long-term client relationships and driving growth, you can't afford not to plan. But the reality is most account managers don't do this. The plans out there, they miss the mark. They're static, they're over detailed, and worst of all, they're not dynamic enough to actually drive any client outcomes or success. A powerful account plan will align with your client, sets up really clear goals, and positions you as someone who's focused on their future, not just on meeting some short-term sales target. But too often we're falling into these traps and we're creating account plans that don't work, and we're seeing the entire process as more of a burden than as an asset. So what I want to do today is I want to share with you 4 pitfalls that are holding you back, 4 friction points that don't have to be there. And we're going to talk about the mindset shifts or the changes of perspective that are going to help us. So let's very quickly review 4 major pitfalls of account plans. And I've seen these over and over. These get in the way so much of people's success with account plans. And even if you show up and you've got the best intentions and you want to make it work, if you do any of these 4 things, you're not going to be as effective as you would like to be. The account plan is supposed to be something that guides your work, gives you clarity, allows you to uncover your blind spots, and helps you move quickly. And that's the goal. However, if you're doing any of these pitfalls I'm about to start sharing, you're going to find that you are simply creating roadblocks for yourself and that you're not having the impact that you want. All right. So pillar number 1 or issue number 1 is overcomplicating the plan. I think we've probably all seen this happen, but I'll ask anyway, how often have you found yourself just totally bogged down in the details? And this comes to life in an account plan where you think, well, I've got to put absolutely everything I know into here. And it's like you're creating War and Peace, like you're writing this gigantic novel, and there's just too much information and too much detail in there. When you do this, you find yourself just putting in more things than are necessary. It's too complex. The plan is packed with every detail under the sun. And honestly, it becomes hard to follow. It becomes hard to use. And it's something that isn't agile. So I want us to instead say, how can I make my plan less complex, more agile, more actionable, for example? So can we instead strip down the plan, keep it simple, instead of having 10 or a dozen or more items in there? Can we just have the 3 to 5 things that actually matter? the goals that our customer cares about and how we're helping them to get there? Can we have that level of detail so that we have a bigger picture of what's going on within the customer and we can drive action? So if we shift from complexity to action oriented, that's going to make our account plans more agile, more fluid, smoother, and easier for us to both read and, of course, then to implement. Your client and your team want clarity. So we don't want a data dump. We want something that's going to very clearly say, here's where we're going, here's how we're going to get there, bang, 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 as opposed to something super complex. So avoid lots of tabs, lots of pages. A simple, clear plan that's easy to follow and to reference beats a 50-page document every single time. So don't overcomplicate your account plans. Consider a 1-pager, 2-pager, 3-pager as being victory. The second big thing that I see people do, the second huge mistake, is this idea of it's a one and done process. So I just do my account plan once or maybe once a year and that's it. And this is really, really bad idea. So often this happens because our boss tells us in January, hey, go to your account plan. And so we spend all this time and energy writing our account plan and then assume, okay, phew, check, done. I don't have to worry about this again. And when we do this, our account plans are sitting there gathering dust, not being touched. They don't become dynamic, living, breathing, evolving entities. And that's where we want to go. These are not meant to be static snapshots in time. That's not the point of an account plan. Account plan is meant to give me information about the account so I can see lots of valuable information, and it needs to be up to date. We know that priorities shift, initiatives change, pandemics happen, all sorts of stuff happen. So we need to be on top of our plans on a regular basis. Otherwise, they become irrelevant. And when I look at it next, I'm like, oh, this doesn't really apply anymore. This isn't true anymore. And then I find myself actually doing more work than in the past. And the fix here is pretty simple. It's to treat the account plan like a living, breathing document. So schedule regular reviews. So this could be monthly or quarterly. Is really going to depend on the size of the customer and what segment they're in and stuff like that. But we want to establish a regular cadence for that so that we can revisit the goals. We can adjust the tactics. We can make sure that our plan reflects where the client is today, not where they were 6 months ago or 9 months ago or longer. So if you do this, if you treat this as a constant process where we're always looking at this, then the plan stays useful, relevant, and responsive to the needs of the client. And trust me, your client will notice the difference. Your boss will notice the difference if you are on top of this, if you treat this more like a living, breathing process rather than a one and done. I find so many people get stuck with, I've got to make it perfect, and they spend tons and tons of time and energy on that, and they just do it once, and then they're so exhausted they just want to go off and do something else, and the plan never gets revisited. That's a really terrible thing to have happen. So we want to avoid that. The third challenge that I see happening a lot is planning in isolation. And this happens because as account managers, we think we know our customers best. We spend a lot of time with them. We spend a lot of time thinking about our clients. And therefore we think, okay, I'm just going to do the account plan really fast and I'm going to own it and everything's going to be on my shoulders. Basically, I'm going to do this on my own. And we do this behind closed doors, sort of just us, as though we're the ones who have to do all the heavy lifting. If we're not getting input from other teams, if we're not getting having conversation and dialogue with the people from product or service or customer success who might also be involved with this account, we're missing out on valuable insights that can make the plan stronger, because I only see the world through, my eyes, and there's a lot of things that I'm not aware of. Part of the account plan is to expose blind spots and risks and opportunities that exist. I don't keep all of those. I don't necessarily have all of those. So my job as an account manager is to look more broadly. So my invitation here is, don't plan in isolation. Make your account plan like a collaborative process. So bring in other folks, sales, CS, et cetera, who can provide insights, who can provide experiences. This allows you to get insights from lots of different people. And in some cases, you're even going to want to get it from the client. In a separate episode, we're going to talk about making your account plans customer facing. But for now, just keep that at the back of your mind is something you may want to be doing. It's a little bit of a ninja move, sort of a black belt move to do that. But the whole idea here is to get as much perspective about the customer out on the table. Furthermore, I'll mention that when everyone has a stake in shaping the plan and putting it together, they're much more likely to support it when it comes time to implement the plan. So make sure to involve the people who are going to be doing the work. If you're not going to be doing yourself, but maybe your production team or your services team or someone else will, make sure that they are on board in the planning process. You don't have to do this totally on your own. The last challenge that I want to mention here is a bit of a meta challenge. And what it is it's focusing too much on the plan instead of on the planning. So what I mean by that is if we focus too much on the plan itself, so we spend all of our time making sure the plan is perfect and it's got a bow on it and it's got all the information and it's all, super perfected, really at the end, I just want to point out, it's just a document. Like maybe it's going to live in CRM or it's going to live in software or it's going to be in a PowerPoint or PDF or what have you. But the real value of building an account plan is not in the final product. It's not in the plan itself. It's in the process of planning. So what I mean by that is shift your mindset to see account planning as an ongoing process. It's an ongoing conversation with your client, with your internal stakeholders, and you're constantly revising and refining it. So the plan isn't like the end state. The plan is a tool to help you get somewhere. So if we use the account plan as a way to facilitate discussions, to get feedback from others, to realign, then we're moving in the right direction. So it's almost like we want to get really good at planning, at the process of account planning, not just like, hey, what does my final document look like? I know this one is a little bit more abstract, but the idea is if I can become really great at account planning, then that's a skill that I have. That's a skill that I can tap into. That's something that matters. So those are 4 challenges, issues, problems that I've seen lots and lots of teams struggle with. And it's a big issue. So I just want to recap what those are. First is overcomplicating the plan. The idea here is you don't have to write War and Peace. It doesn't have to be this like stone tablet chiseled plan. Don't make it too complicated. Instead, use it for directional indication. Are we moving in the right direction with the customer? Do we have a general understanding of the critical things that are going to define success or failure in this project? That's what I mean. Keep it agile. Keep it as simple as you can. The second one is don't consider this a one-time exercise. Consider this a living, breathing document that I'm working on often, that I'm using to challenge my assumptions, that I'm using to enroll others and to engage others. Number 3, don't do it alone. I don't have to do this account plan in isolation. I can work with others within the organization. A lot of account managers think I can do it on my own and I have to do it on my own. And I'm going to tell you that's simply not true. And then number 4, learn how to get great at account planning. Don't worry as much about the output of the plan as am I learning the skills and am I getting good at this process? So now that we've covered those challenges, let's talk about what a strong account planning approach actually looks like. So here's the mindset shift. Instead of treating account planning as a task to check off, as some sort of burden, see it instead as your competitive edge. See it as something that's going to help you operate faster, get more results, be a better partner to your customer. So what I want to do now is I want to break down some of the elements that make a modern account plan effective and impactful. And I think about this as having a number of different steps in it. So an account plan, like a modern account plan, should be number 1, client-centric and collaborative. So the plan is about the customer. It's not about us. It's focusing on their goals, not our agenda. It's not something that you build alone. We're doing this with a lot of folks within our organization. It's a shared roadmap. So this is a place where we can all look at it and say, yes, this is where we are today. This is where we're going. It's not full of assumptions. And so the shift here is to say, I'm really going to make this plan about the customer. I don't know about you. I've seen so many account plans where, I've worked with a lot of teams over the years. And I would say to the VP of account management, well, just grab an account plan from your team and let's take a look at it. And those plans invariably are simply, I want to sell this thing to this customer by December 31st, or I want to get this, 3-year agreement in place, or I want to upsell to the team in Europe, or whatever it is. And the plans were so often about us as opposed to being about the customer. And guess what? Your clients can smell that coming from a mile away. And they know if you are really being customer centric or not. And so my challenge to you, my invitation to you is make your account plans truly customer centric. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The second is this is a living document. This is a dynamic thing. So static plans, they're outdated literally the minute that they're finished. Instead, let's treat our plans as dynamic and evolving and updated regularly. So this can be pulling in other data from systems that we have within the company, CRM data, usage data, financial data, client feedback, whatever it is. All this stuff can go into the plan. Anytime we have new piece of information or new piece of data, it's an opportunity for us to revise our account plan and say, now that I have this new piece of information, what am I going to do about it? If instead we treat this thing as static, then, every year it's outdated literally by the time you press publish. So my advice is keep it as a living document and change your mindset around that. Number 3 is focus on long-term relationship-based outcomes. What do I mean by that? So many account plans are like, here's what I need to do this quarter. And it's really, not only is it super specific to me, but they're also really short-term. For the most part, your clients are working with you so that you can help them meet some goal way in the future, some big initiative. And so we want to have our account plan be the foundation for that long-term partnership. As you do things like voice of customer interviews, as you really get into relationship mapping to understand who the players are and to understand the client's vision and their strategy, you're going to see the bigger picture goals. And it's really powerful for you to then to align your account plan around those goals. Like I've seen a lot of them that are far too tactical, but the closer you can get to the big initiatives that your client is working on and that they care about, the more valuable your plans are going to become. I also want to mention, use technology. So there's a lot of tools that are dedicated account management tools that are going to help you with this. So sometimes people use the CRM, but generally speaking, I want to see you using a dedicated software tool in this process. So it's tools like Capta that are really going to be super, super helpful for you. CRM can also do it if you need to. Try to avoid PowerPoint, PDF, and stuff like that, simply because by their very nature, they're sort of static. Those are static documents. So use technology, use integrations into other tools to be able to see when signals are coming in and when information is changing. Like take advantage of all the enablement resources, the BI tools, all the stuff that your company there has to support you so that we are getting as clear of a picture as we possibly can for our accounts. So those are things I just wanted to reframe and to mention for us. Keep your plans client-centric and collaborative. Make it a living document. Focus on big picture, long-term outcomes, and use technology if you have it, because it's simply going to make your life easier. You're going to have a guide to do your work. So with that in mind, so this is kind of the reframe on this. And a lot of people will then say, okay, I get it. These are all philosophical changes. These are philosophical insights about how to do account plans. Big deal. How do I actually make this work? And you might be saying, well, how do I actually bring this to life? Let's now talk about 5 things you can do to create account plans that work. So like, how do we actually make this work? First is set really clear goals. So the goals, I always recommend 3 to 5 customer goals per account plan. If you have more than 5, then you're probably just a little bit too distracted and you're being too scattershot. If you have less than 3, you probably don't understand your client well enough. 3 to 5 goals for your client, and use those as the North Star. The North Star is every action item, everything that we're doing is in support of one of these goals that we know our customer cares about. If we don't know our customer's goals, this is a great time to dust off your voice of customer experience and to go ask great questions so that you can uncover what those are. This is probably your number one job as an account manager. The number one thing you can do is ask great questions so that you can uncover what your customer's goals are. The second part is to collaborate and to co-create these. What I mean by that is Share with your customer, like double check your assumptions. Make sure that we're on track. Share it with other folks inside of our company. The more we collaborate, the more aligned, the more actionable the plan will be. Number 3 I want to mention is build in regular checkpoints or have a good cadence. Now, you're going to have different cadences based on, is this a big customer or a small customer? Is it in this segment or that segment? There's going to be a lot of, is there a renewal coming up or not? There's going to be a lot of things that impact what that cadence is, but you want to make sure that you have established and agreed upon with your internal stakeholders and your external stakeholders when you're doing a QBR, what that cadence is. So it could be monthly, it could be quarterly, it could be weekly if there's a huge risk or some gigantic thing that's happening. But the point is we want to have these checkpoints so that the plan stays relevant, it stays aligned, and stays on top of whatever is happening with the client business. I already mentioned use technology wherever you can. It's going to make your life easier. So tap into dedicated tools for account managers if you can. If you don't have those, then at the very least, use your CRM. And, finally, I want to mention document your wins and document your learnings. So it's important to celebrate when we're having good success, when we're helping our customer to reach their goals, or when we're getting a renewal or an upsell, for example. We want to be really diligent about saying, hey, we tried this and this happened and it was successful or it wasn't successful or what have you. Documenting those learnings are going to be so important when we go back to the account plan in a month or in a quarter to review. It's also going to be really helpful if we ever need to transition account from one person to another, for example, or when we're preparing for a quarterly business review with a client. So I always say document everything you can, bring in perspectives from other people. That's going to help you to really get clarity on what did we do, how are we moving with our clients. So look, I share all this with you because I think many people are not using account plans as effectively as they could. They really should be your secret weapon. They should be something that allows you to work faster, to get better results, to have more clarity, and to have less friction in your job. So personally, I'm a huge fan of account planning, and I want you to do it right. I want it to become your competitive edge. An account plan is your chance to build a proactive and strategic relationship with your client. And in doing that, you're showing them that their success is your priority and that you share their vision for growth. So you are getting on their side when you do this. When you do that and when you approach account planning as an ongoing collaborative process, we're not just doing this for the sake of creating a document. We're doing this because we want to build trust. We want to build loyalty. We want to build long-term value for our customers. So here's what I want to ask you to do. As soon as you finish listening to this episode, go take a look at one of your existing account plans. Just, pick one at random, and think back about what we discussed today. So what can you apply from this episode into your current account plans? Can you simplify it? Can you clarify the goals? Can you involve other people from your team? Can you review it at a better cadence? Like anything like that. Can you update it a little bit more frequently? Like anything like that. Take this and see what small change you can implement and then see how that shifts for you, because I really think that we can all be much, much better at account planning, and that's going to help us tremendously in our jobs. Now, if you're ready to go even deeper, I've got a resource for you that'll help you take your account planning to a whole nother level. Check out Amplify. It's our community for top performing account managers. And this is where you're going to find the tools, the insights, and the strategies that you need to turn your account plans into one of your greatest assets. It's where the best in the business come together to grow, learn, and to build careers that really stand out. Thank you so much for joining us here today. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.